Hi, I'm Eugene Sakai with Studio S Squared Architecture, and here with me today is Gloria Nazlu.
Hi.
And Gloria is here because she's become an expert in our contractor bidding process, which is a big part of phase four, plan, check, and bidding. So we've already taken you through our entire design process at this point. We've taken you through how we put our construction documents together. The next important step in the overall process is getting a building permit for you, which is what happens in this phase. But also in parallel, an equally important part of this phase is the process of contractor bidding. So we do these processes in parallel, um, and you'll see how we track them together and how they come together at the end of the phase. Um, so you will have some homework assignments to do during this phase. Number one, as you've gotten probably fairly accustomed to doing, you'll have to write some checks. These will be going to the building department to pay your plan check fees, which essentially are the fees that the city or the county collect to review your plans. You'll pay at the end of the plan check process a permit fee, which is basically the fee you'll have to pay for the inspectors to come out and look at the project as it's being built. Before you pull your building permit, you'll also have to pay a school district impact fee, largely based on the amount of square footage you're adding. The theory being that the larger the home you build, the more impact there is on the school district. And just as a reminder, all of these blue underlined words typically link to a document that explains these in a bit more detail. Um, Also, one thing that you're going to find is the general contractors who are bidding on your project will likely request the opportunity to visit your site. Gloria, did you want to touch a bit on what the site visit process normally looks like?
Sure. So the site visit process usually consists of the general contractor visiting the project site. And that is the time for the general contractor to not only meet the owners in person, but to also kind of talk with them and ask any questions and answer any questions that the owners might have for them. And
Mhm.
they get to really scope out the project site and kind of get a feel for it for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It might be the first opportunity you've had to meet the general contractor. It might be the second. These might be the same builders who assisted us with cost estimating in
Mhm.
phase 1A, but essentially what a little bit of what they're doing is what Gloria alluded to. They're sizing you up a little bit, as we've indicated here. They're getting a feel for who you are as a potential client. They're certainly trying to understand the constraints and the buildability of your site by seeing it in person. Um, but really, I think it's an opportunity for them to sort of understand what kind of a client are you going to be during the construction period. So you should be sizing them up also, just as they're sizing you up. Ask for references. Get a real understanding for how they're going to work with you, understand their service model. We've provided some links here on ways that you can evaluate a contractor, so I encourage you to take a look at those. Something else you can do in that same vein, the state of California on their Contractor State License Board website has really some excellent tips for consumers on how to hire a contractor, how to work with a contractor. Take a look at what they have on their website. We've downloaded a bunch of these so you can click on these links, but go back to their website. They occasionally update it with new information. If you haven't done so already, now is a great time to start looking for temporary housing. This phase does take a while, so it's not as if you're going to be having to move out in a week or even a month. So if you haven't done so already, you might want to start thinking about temporary housing. And so one thing that you'll also probably want to do towards the end of this phase, The contractor is going to produce basically a contract to build your home. And along with the scope of work that we're outlining on our plans will come some general conditions and some legalese in their standard contract form. We'll review this contract for you, but we're certainly not attorneys, so we strongly encourage you to enlist the services of your attorney to take a look at this contract as well, just to make sure that you're well protected and the contract is not terribly one-sided. So some of these items we're going to go over in a bit more detail on our process map, which you see here and a little bit more clearly here. As you can see, in comparison to some of the other phases, this one is just jam-packed with cells. And it's because, as I mentioned at the outset, we're actually pushing two things in parallel: the building permit and in parallel the general contractor bidding process. Gloria is going to help me get through the explanation of the contractor bidding process. So I will take the lead on explaining the government plan check process. As compared to the planning permit process, which you might have gone through in phase 1B, the building permit process is really purely a technical review. They are not going to nitpick design aspects of the project. They're not going to look at things like the aesthetics or the neighborhood compatibility. The building department review is really purely on objective, code-driven, very predictable terms. And as such, it's much more predictable than the phase 1B planning permit process. So it goes a little more smoothly. The timelines are a little shorter. Neighbors have no input in this process, which is beautiful. And so really the main effort happens really behind the scenes. Really the only thing you have to do during the building plan check process is just reimburse us or directly pay the plan check fees, which gets the whole process started. All of this input here, as I mentioned, is something that we're going to take care of for you. You can feel free to click on any of these cells that have a hot link for more information on what we will be doing. But essentially, rest assured that we will be working directly with the building department to expedite the receipt of your permit as quickly as possible. While all of that is going on, and you can see that there are some fairly long review cycles here, minimum 30 days at the outset, typically 30 days upon resubmittal, some time for our team to revise and coordinate plans. Gloria will be typically the one in our office working with the bid pool and making sure that they get the information that they need to do their fair share of the process in a timely way. Gloria, can you take it from here?
Hey, okay, so first thing is first is we start to gather up everything we need in order to create the bid package. And the bid package includes the current architectural set we have, all current drawings from consultants. And if the project has signed on with our interior package, then we also include all the interior design construction documents, appendix, and schedule. The bid package includes, like I said, everything that I had listed out, and this will get sent out to the provided bid pool of GCs. The bid pool is usually a pool of GCs that either the owners themselves put together, or they have reached out to us and have asked us to include some names into the pool.
What about how many contractors do we typically recommend?
We typically recommend 5 to 7.
Mhm.
That's kind of the amount we like to kind of include because it has a good amount.
Yeah. Yeah, one
Let's
thing we'll normally find, I think a lot of the literature out there will say, get 2, get 3 bids.
Mhm.
We often find that as long as you have the capacity to host these GC visits, do all the reference checking. The more the merrier to a certain point.
Hmm.
We never recommend more than 10. But one of the things that you'll see is even though our plans are creating sort of a baseline level of expectation for bidding and kind of an apples to apples environment, if you will, there's still going to be a range of numbers.
Yeah.
When these bids come back, there's going to be sometimes a pretty good variance between the low bidder and the high bidder, even though they're bidding the same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice to kind of get that mix.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see.
So I think we left off on where the GCs might have some questions, right?
Right, right. So we typically give the GC some time to review the plans that we have provided them with in the bid package, and we request that they send their written RFIs to us. An RFI stands for Request for Information. We
Mm-hmm.
get this question from GCs a lot, what that means.
What is an
So
RFI?
yeah, request for information. So this gives we give this a lot of time for GCs to ask us any questions they have in regards
Mm-hmm.
to the bid process, bid package, and just the general project scope. We don't want the GCs to feel confused or lost when reviewing their plans, and we want to give the opportunity for them to ask questions, and we want to provide those responses so that they can feel confident and comfortable when putting their bid package, or sorry, putting their initial short form bid together.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that they provide accurate information and numbers for
Mm-hmm.
you to review. So we want to make sure that we make that process smooth, go by smoothly.
Sure. Yeah, I think the just the level of information that we put out is just pretty daunting. It's literally hundreds and hundreds of pages of documentation, reports, plans, calculations. So naturally, a GC who's paying attention, at least, is going to generate questions. And
Right.
so, one thing that we like to do, and one thing Gloria does really well, is when the RFIs come in, we make an effort to make sure that all bidders in your bid package get the responses to that information, right, Gloria?
Correct. Yes. We
Yeah.
compile all the questions and all of our responses into one email, and we distribute all of those questions and all of those answers to all the GCs, just so that if one question is being asked by one GC, it could also benefit the others as well.
Right, right. And again, I think it's out of respect for the GCs. They're spending a lot of time and basically it's not compensated unless they win the job to put these
Right.
proposals together. But it's also in your interest as a client for all the GCs to have that level playing field, the apples to apples that we keep referring to. So there's no favoritism if one GC asks 20 questions and another one doesn't ask any. It doesn't matter. The GC that doesn't ask any still gets the benefit of all that information. And they get it at the same time. We put it out all kind of in one batch in an effort to kind of, again, make sure no one has a schedule advantage with that information.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Um, so what happens next? So we issue those responses, and then
Mhm.
and then what happens next for the GCs?
So once we've issued the RFI responses, we then give the general contractors about a week to finalize their initial short form bid. And we have been strictly mandating that all general contractors follow this S2 bid template that Eugene has up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to note that GCs can provide their own addendum and appendix, but that they're also required to reformat their numbers into this one-page sheet that we have here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if builders are actually confused on this process, they could actually refer to the last 10 pages of the invitation to bid.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the CSI section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, if there's any confusion on that, they can refer to this. The reason why we're strictly mandating this S2 bid template is because it prevents any confusion, and it's also in the builder's best interest because oftentimes owners will receive a variety of different templates from
Mm,
GCs,
yeah.
and it makes it difficult for them to review and compare the bids.
Hmm.
So if everything was listed out here on one sheet, it makes it easier for you, the owners, to review.
Yeah, general contractors, they're a varied bunch. I mean, they're as varied as you and I and our clients, and they run their businesses slightly differently. They don't always use the same standards and delivery models, and that is true of their bidding templates as well. Um, a lot of times, someone will submit a one-page bid template of their own making, and someone else might submit a 20-page bid template of their own making, and it becomes very difficult for our clients to sort of sort through all that, especially if we have 6 or 7 different templates coming through at once. So it's really in the contractor's best interest as well to not have either our firm or our clients having to parse that information to kind of collate it back into a common format, which is why we encourage the GCs to use this. We allow them to submit their own format as a supplement, but we really want them to take the time to reformat their standard proposal into our standard format. And as Gloria mentioned, we do have pretty explicit directions on how the various divisions work. The CSI, Construction Specifications Institute, is a national institute that basically categorizes all things building and all things construction. And so if a contractor has any questions about what division of our spreadsheet to populate, all they have to do is look back at this document, which we have included in the bid instructions, and they can do that. So we'd rather have them do that work than Gloria or myself doing that work, and certainly better than our clients doing that work of formatting. So you might hear some grumbling on the part of these builders. Gloria and I often have to push back and insist that they reformat their bids here, but it's really the least they can do if they really want the chance to win your project.
Right.
Um, so yeah, great job on explaining that, Gloria.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem.
Okay, so then it looks like so the GCs submit those short forms, and then it moves to the owner over here.
Right. So during this phase of the bid process, once you've received all the bids, you take the time to review everything that you've received from all the GCs. And what kind of your homework assignment here is to review everything and to really narrow down your bid pool down to 2 builders. Um, and these can be your 2 favorite GCs. Um, and like Eugene has actually here on the screen, it's nice to just thank all the other GCs for the time that they've put into, creating their initial short form bid, and just kind of let them know that, thank you for your bid, but I'm sorry you haven't been selected. And it's important to obviously notify the 2 builders that you would like to continue the process with, so that they kind of are aware of their next steps.
Yeah, that's a happy call to make.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of times you can email out, the thank you, but we won't be choosing you email to the 4 or 5 bidders who won't be moving forward onto the second phase. But certainly the ones who are, it's great to pick up the phone and just kind of share the good news with them. Um, so what happens then next, Gloria, after that decision is made by our client?
So after that decision has been made by our client, we are actually internally working with the set of plans. We
Mm-hmm.
are working on any kind of QC work. We are addressing any plan check comments from the building department.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we are really working on finalizing the set so that we can get it ready for the addendum.
Yeah.
Um, the addendum is something that gets issued to the short list of GCs,
Mm-hmm.
and what that includes is, like I said, the finalized plans, finalized architectural, finalized interior, all
Hmm.
finalized drawings from all consultants. Basically, this will be the final plan ready for construction.
Yeah.
And this will be issued to the general contractor for them to produce their long form bid and contract.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. Again, so this is one of those points where those parallel processes of plan check and bidding do intersect, where we issue the revised plan set just to those two or maybe three in certain cases, shortlisted builders. We don't want to put all the bid pool through that amount of work again, and so that's why we only limit it to those who are your favorite builders at
Right.
this point. So then, as Gloria mentioned, those shortlisted builders will submit their full proposal, which typically includes their written contract, their schedule, general conditions, payment schedule, any other information that you might want from them, maybe some additional references, etc. Basically, this is their last chance to really shine, put their best foot forward, and land the job.
Yeah.
A lot of times, actually, what can often happen right here during this shortlist sort of final phase is kind of a second round of negotiation, really, where maybe you have a favorite contractor between the two, but your other contractor is on your short list because maybe he's 15% cheaper. And you can use that as leverage to see if your favorite contractor is willing to come down a little bit. Um, so you do have leverage because the plans are going to dictate that scope between the two builders be identical. And really, what you're asking is, okay, for the same scope of work, who wants the job more? And sometimes that can prove to be very effective when a builder knows that he's one of two. He's got a real good chance at getting the job. You'll see that builder oftentimes sharpen their pencil, tighten their belt, and their numbers come down a bit. And you can really be the benefit of that by simply using the bid process to your full advantage and the thoroughness of our plans and bid model to your full advantage. Um, so really at that point, you're choosing between two really good candidates, two attractive proposals, but there will be one of these that you prefer more. It might not be the lowest price builder. It might be somebody who you just really connected with personally or has outstanding references or beautifully built projects, but someone will rise to the top. And then you're going to ask that GC, who's got the full package of everything you want in a GC, to submit their draft contract, at which point there can be a contract review, as we mentioned, by yourself, by Studio S Squared, and possibly by your attorney. And upon the review of that contract, what we like to do is at our office host a pre-construction kickoff meeting. Um, that meeting, typically the agenda is fairly short. It's about an hour long, but really what we're trying to do is establish a tone of collaboration on the project between our firm and the general contractor. We want to make it clear to them that we are completely at their disposal to answer any questions they have, that our client, you, won't be charged for any email questions or any clarifications that the builder needs. We really want to encourage that open line of communication between the GC, the field, and our firm. So we want to make sure that there are no obstacles to any questions or clarification items. First and foremost, that we're a team player and we're all about getting your house built in the most expeditious way possible. Um, this meeting is also a great opportunity to discuss those contract review items, which we discussed. So we don't want you to actually sign the contract before this meeting. We want you to come in with your comments on the contracts so that we can discuss them with the builder face to face, answer any clarification questions they might have on our comments, take the temperature on how they're going to react to those comments. And typically at this point, because they haven't signed, they're pretty willing and eager to make any revisions necessary just to get your signature on the dotted line. During this meeting, we also want to put out there on the table very clearly, are there any exclusions from the bid package in your proposal? Because we expect that their contract be inclusive of everything in the bid package, from soup to nuts, every single finish that has been specified, every single detail that's been drawn. We don't want them to have any exclusions from what has been documented, either structurally, architecturally, or on the interiors, or really with anything. So we actually have language to that effect, which Gloria and I have worked on over the years, which basically holds them accountable for sticking to the plans and specs as written. On, I think it's page 2 or 3 of our bid instructions, right under Division 1, we mandate inclusion of the below language, which essentially says that their proposal includes everything in the package, all the addendum, all the consultant's drawings, everything there. And if there are exclusions, list them here or put none. And we want to see none, of course. So essentially, we don't want their contract to override our bid package, is what this boils down to. So going back to our process here and our kickoff meeting. Another thing we want to discuss during this kickoff meeting is our schedule for site visits. In our phase 5 video, you'll see Spencer on the architectural side and Sierra talking about the various site visits that their teams do during construction. And we want to sort of get the schedule for those out on the table so the contractors are aware that we'll be doing these and that we can get a ballpark idea of when those will need to happen. Some other things we want to discuss, any unusual design details that might be in the project, things that might be unusual in terms of standard construction practices. And quite frankly, for our firm, there are generally a fair number of unusual details that we're going to do that are very custom, maybe a little bit different than what a builder might be accustomed to doing on a very basic house. We try to be creative with our designs, as you know, and a lot of times the detailing reflects that.
A custom home after all.
Exactly. What would be a custom home without custom details?
Exactly.
Project schedule is very important. We want to talk at a high level when the contractor thinks the project will be complete. We actually like that to be written into the contract. We also want to know, what is the payment schedule? We don't want the builder to bill you for every single invoice that comes through. That would be hundreds of invoices. On the other hand, maybe 2 invoices a month, 1 invoice a month, preferably. That's perfectly normal. So we want to make clear, what is their invoicing schedule? Will they be tied to city inspections or building inspections, our inspections? Will our firm be certifying payments? That's a service that we can offer for those clients who want it. Essentially, we want to know what releases the cash from you to the builder and on what frequency. And then lastly, just generally, what are the next steps leading up to construction? We're going to cover that in the last part of our flowchart analysis, because there are some things the builder needs to do with the building department in order to pull the permit. So why don't we go back to our flowchart here? So really, this last leg of the process involves collaboration between the GC, yourself, and the building department. So the GC and you will execute your contract together. And then from there, once they are your contractor, you will need to pay some fees, again, building permit fees and school fees, as I mentioned. The GC actually has some coordination items to do, and we've listed them here as some typical things to do, but These do vary a bit from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but we've listed a few of the more common ones here. We don't need to go over these in a lot of detail, but you can see that these are sort of administrative laundry list type items that the GC needs to do in order to satisfy the city's conditions of building permit issuance. These are typically boilerplate items, but don't try to handle these yourself. Have your general contractor do them. And then lastly, once all that is done, the building department will be able to issue the permit once all fees have been paid, conditions have been met. Essentially, the permit is a piece of paper. It's literally a piece of paper that is something that maintains its legal status with wet signatures on the job site. So it's something the GC actually cherishes, probably second to only their children and their family, because without that permit card, a lot of times the records of inspection are lost. And so the GCs are very careful about making sure that permit card is in a secure place. And so really once all that administrative stuff is done, then and only then can demolition begin. So it's been a long process up to this point. Certainly phase 4 itself has been very long, not to mention all the other phases that came before it. But now is when the fun really begins, seeing your building come to life. Gloria, what's your favorite part of the architectural process?
I think just, the collaboration with the clients is probably my favorite thing, and just getting to know the clients through this process.
Mm,
I think that's really special because we worked with you all for so long and we really get to know you, what you like, what you don't like. So just building that relationship with our clients, I think is really special. And
mm,
just the collaborative effort in creating something for our clients and making their, dream home come true.
mm. That's well said. Um, you should be in marketing.
Thanks.
No, in all seriousness, that's actually one of my favorite things too, is having to respond. These processes that we've outlined on all these videos are largely the same, and they become fairly routine for us internally. I know they, at first glance, seem very complex and difficult, but the steps don't really change that much from project to project. What does change is the variety that the client brings. And I think, as Gloria mentioned, because we are such a collaborative firm, that that client's personality and taste show up very much in every project we do, and that's what makes our job interesting.
Yeah, it
Um,
really is. Seeing all the custom homes, they all turn out different. So, I mean, like you said, although the process may be the same, the end result ends up being different because we're working with different clients and different designs and different jurisdictions too that require different, guidelines. But
mhm.
it's all a process, but it's a fun process.
Yeah, the process is sort of it's kind of the foundation, I think, that frees us up for that deep collaboration that
Mhm.
happens. We've been fine tuning this process for many years, and especially looking very hard at it in the last couple of years, and we really kind of have this aspect of it down. So this just kind of lives in the background. A lot of this is stuff that we're doing on behalf of the clients without them even knowing about it. These videos are really just an effort to kind of peel back the curtain, I guess, so that they can understand a bit of what we're doing in the background. But really, the fun stuff is everything that kind of happens between us and the client, because that's where the creativity comes in. That's where the day-to-day variety in our jobs come in.
Mhm.
Clients always surprise us, sometimes, usually in a positive way, sometimes negatively. But it always makes each job different, which is why I think it's always interesting to come into work every day, because you never quite know exactly like what's going to be coming off of your desk, or what the client's ideas are going to manifest themselves into.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
A little bit wordy there. I think you said it better.
No, yours is great too. I just wanted to touch bases with the building department issuing the permit.
Mhm.
The permit does have an expiration date, right?
Yeah, great point. Thanks for the reminder there.
Yeah.
So just like your planning permit, the building permit is not an infinitely legal document. In other words, it does have a sunset date that the clock starts ticking on essentially the minute you are issued the permit. Um, so a building permit typically needs to remain active by having an inspection called every 6 months. So in the absence of that, the permit can expire and be renewed one time for a 6 month extension. So technically, you can let the permit go with no activity for up to 1 year in normal times. After which that first extension, you have no more extension opportunities. So really, once you pull that permit, typically you want to keep the project moving and not dormant, for long periods of time. 6 months is the magic number there.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, any parting words of wisdom on your end, Gloria, before we
Um,
let our clients go?
Best of luck with your ongoing, I guess, bid schedule and project. And I hope that you enjoy the process and that you thoroughly enjoy your future home.
Lovely, well said. All right, so I want to thank Gloria for her contribution to this video and everything that she's done to make this particular process smoother and more predictable, especially for our contractor friends. As we mentioned at the outset, uh, this is really kind of a team effort, and the general contractor is a huge part of the team. None of these projects happen without the skill, the talent, and the knowledge of our builder friends. And so this process is set up to find the best of them for you, the best fit, but also to respect them and their time and their knowledge, and really kind of give a fair process for them to compete for the privilege of building your home. So with all that being said, we're going to sign off here, and we will see you on the next video.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.